Do better.
Be better.
Welcome to the Spitfire Podcast Take Flight. We are hosts Mutso
And Shaz, social media specialists at Spitfire Inbound.
Today we are thrilled to share the Spitfire Inbound sponsorship journey, and to help us do that we have a very special guest today with us. Please welcome Michelle Buckle, the volunteer team coach of Texpand, an innovative organization dedicated to empowering young minds with STEM skills. We've also got two esteemed students from Texpand with us today. Please welcome Ethan Buckle and Matthew Greenwood.
As a proud sponsor of Texpand, Spitfire Inbound is committed to supporting the development of essential STEM skills in South Africa's youth, which are crucial for success in today's technology-driven world. But who exactly is Texpand, and how do they fit into the puzzle?
Well, let's find out. Welcome to the podcast, Michelle, Ethan, and Matthew. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Yay.
A pleasure to be with you.
So before we jump in, I'd like to just go around the room with quick introductions and names. We'll start off with you, Michelle.
I'm Michelle Buckle, and I'm actually Ethan's mom, and I am a homeschooling mom, and I am a financial planner that I do in the afternoons, and my background is in management consulting, and I studied computer science, so I do have a little bit of tech in there, but haven't programmed for many, many years. So that's my background. Passionate about technology and love empowering kids to learn new things.
And I'm Ethan. I am one of the founding members of the team. I've competed in the competition for 4 years, and this season my main role was mechanical and also in programming. So those are the main areas where I helped out the team, and that's what my passion is, and I'm planning to study mechatronics at university.
I am Matthew. I am one of the newest additions to the team. I was lead strategist this year, and do not know what I want to study yet, but it'll probably be something related to robotics.
Amazing. Well, thank you for those introductions. Very fancy. I am so excited to just jump into Texpand's journey and who Texpand is. So I'd love to start off with you, Michelle, just to describe that Texpand's journey, your background working with Texpand, and who is Texpand?
Great. So it's actually thanks to Ethan that Texpand originally got started. He's always been interested in how things work and building stuff with Lego, and that led to him finding out about Mindstorm's Lego, which is a robotics form of Lego. And then he got some basic coding and robotics lessons when he was really young. And at about the age of 12 or 13, his tutor started a robotics team to compete in the competition called the First Tech Challenge. And Ethan loved the challenge and building the robot to compete in the game, but he actually got frustrated that he only had access to the robot for less than 2 hours a week. And at his first competition, I met up with one of the other parents there who had no robotics knowledge, and she had started a team that met in their garage. And I immediately thought, that sounds like a brilliant learning environment, and it might be possible for us to do that. And but it wasn't until the start of the next season, when we were actually struggling to find a team nearby for Ethan to slot into, that we decided, we'd heard about these grants that were available for new teams to start and to purchase the initial equipment, which is actually around 30,000. Well, it was 30,000 4 years ago.
Sure.
And so we applied for the grant and we got it, which enabled us to start a team. So Ethan basically recruited 5 of his friends to make the first team, and they had weekly sessions, and we actually got a technical coach to coach them once a week. But outside of that time, they had full access to all the equipment, and they were in charge of their own learning and learned so much. Most families actually found those sessions quite expensive with the technical coach, quite expensive. And we realized that after 1 year that we were going to struggle to get members of the team to continue paying those monthly fees towards the technical coach. And we also at the same time realized that actually the team was learning more outside of their sessions with the coach than they were learning in the session with the coach. And funnily enough, there were some areas where they moved beyond the coach's knowledge and they actually the coach wasn't able to help them. Like in image processing, they learned a whole lot more that the coach wasn't actually able to help them with. And that's when my husband and I realized that we could change things up a bit with this robotics team and actually make it more accessible to kids by volunteering to be process coaches ourselves. And so that meant that the team budget, because the other problem was that we needed money for parts in the second year. And these parts are really expensive. So we realized that if we volunteer as the coaches and there's no cost for coaches, then the parents' money could go to funding the parts that we needed for the next season.
Oh,
Yeah, so our role as coaches has been really just to connect the team to the resources and mentors who can help them grow in knowledge and to also help them set goals and help them with project management and time management, because there's lots of deadlines. And sometimes when you're having fun, time flies when you're having fun.
Of course.
Yeah.
To remind them of their goals. And so we built this culture in the team of self-learning and passing on the skills to others. And because they haven't depended on us or any particular adult to learn, it's been their passion and their goals that have driven them to learning new things. And then with the culture in the team is also to pass on anything that they learn, to pass it on to the other members in the team. And then also this last season, we also made connections with kids from disadvantaged primary school close to us, and they actually went in and passed on their skills to those kids in the primary school by having training sessions for those kids. So yeah, we've tried to have that culture of like you can learn anything, and once you've learned, there's somebody else who needs to learn it as well. That's been like quite a big part of the culture that Greg and I have tried to create in the team.
Oh, that's amazing. You sound like you work at Spitfire.
Cool.
Like, I have a question. Who came up with the name Texpand and what does it mean?
We actually spent a lot of time brainstorming ideas for team names. The first season, our team name wasn't that great. We needed to register our team like on the day, and we couldn't have a team meeting to discuss the name. So we were just a group of my friends, all guys. So we named the team the Dudes.
Oh, wow.
Hit out
So
of
in
it.
the judging, they asked us like, "Why is your team named that?" And we couldn't come up with any good reason. So we made that a point that we needed to fix for the next season. So we're brainstorming ideas. We want to expand technology skills and STEM skills. So that's where the expanding is coming from. And tech, or the text, is from technology. So we're expanding technology.
Nice. Love that.
Our mission is expanding STEM skills through robotics.
Oh,
Wow.
I see what you guys did there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So Matthew, I just want to find out, I know you are the most recent member of the team. So how did you first get involved like with Texpand?
So I first heard of Texpand through a friend who had joined. I've always been interested in robotics, and so decided to join the apprentice program that's run by the team members, where they essentially pass on what they've learned to us, that we can try and learn it as well. This was probably one of the best decisions I've made, as the knowledge they gave me was just so great. From CAD designing skills, with 3D designing, the basic one, I was very well prepared for when I got the opportunity to join the team.
Wow. So is that what drew you to the organization, the skills that you've been learning?
Yes, precisely.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah, and I think this is a part of the way the team works as well, is that we want to invite people to be part of the team, but we've seen from previous years that it's hard for them to join the team and be productive straight away because there is just such a steep learning curve. And that's why we created this apprenticeship program, so then people can learn skills. And now that the team's a fair size, we've got 9 members, we actually going to extend the apprenticeship program to more people, and then be a little bit more picky about who we get to join the team because we're running out of space in our team.
Yeah, because I wanted to, yeah.
Carry on.
No, I just wanted to ask, what's the criteria? Because you did mention that you're running out of, I guess, space. But what is like the criteria to be part of your team?
So ideally, we want people who have had a background, they've done some work, probably with Lego, because that's the most common thing. They have some background in building things or with programming, and that's what their main interest is. So that'll help them to be passionate about working, and probably also that this isn't going to be just a little side thing that they're going to allocate 2 to 3 hours a week on. There needs to be something quite big in their lives that they can push things aside for competition days, which sometimes take up a whole weekend.
Yeah,
Interesting.
definitely.
Passion
And
is huge, I think. I think passion is probably the main thing because there are lots of times where there are problems that you need to be passionate about this to push through. And also because Greg and I, we are not we're not like managers who allocate tasks and then check on people. We are facilitating learning, so we're wanting the team members to be passionate about something and take initiative and run with it. And we're just kind of coming alongside them and helping them when they shout out like, oh, I'm struggling with this, or I need this, or whatever. Then we just help them access resources. So we don't want to be begging and pleading for people to be doing things. So passion is huge.
of course, and to any of our listeners, if this sounds like something that you know somebody that sounds like this person, will definitely be dropping all of the details in the description of this episode. So you can get signing up in the expansion of technology, Texpand, that's their name, if you didn't get it. But I just want to bring it back to the FTC competition and what's it all about. So Michelle, you had mentioned that it is First Tech Challenge. That's what it stands for. Can you tell us a little bit more about the competition?
So it's an international competition. There are teams that compete all over the world. In fact, it's the biggest high school robotics initiative. There are several, but this is by far the biggest one. And the first robotics competition center around a game that is played by robots. So each year the game is different, and the teams have about 4 months. For the First Tech Challenge, they have 4 months. There are other divisions in other first competitions. There's the first Lego League, where they have, I think, 2 months to make a robot out of Lego. Then the First Tech Challenge is made out of more metal components and any 3D printed components. So they have 4 months to design and build a robot that will score the most points that they can get in the game. And in each match, our team was randomly allocated what they call an alliance partner, which is just another robot and team to play the game with. And then the teams have to strategize how their robots will play the game to win against 2 other robots in an opposing alliance. So there's actually 4 robots on a field that's about 3.5 meters by 3.5 meters game for the match. Yeah.
So Ethan, this year's challenge was called Power Play. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the main way teams score points or robots score points this game is by picking up cones. They're about the size, maybe slightly bigger than like your normal takeaway coffee cup that you would get. And they are placed on poles of different heights. So the tallest pole is 85 centimeters. So you get a bit of idea of scale of how far these robots have to reach up. So this game, as you realize, requires a lot of strategy, not only because there's 4 robots on the field, but also because you actually get bonus points if your color of cone is on top of the junction. So
Cool.
there's red cones and blue cones because those are the colors of the team. And if you're the blue team and you have your blue cone on top of this junction of this pole, then you actually get more points for that cone. And there's also a circuit which you can get by connecting one side of the field to the other side of the field by having a continuous line of poles that are owned by your color code. So that also can be blocked or created to score massive amounts of points. So there are the structure of the game is there's 3 different time periods. The game is 2 minutes, 30 seconds total. And the first 30 seconds is an autonomous period. So the robots are programmed to take inputs of their surroundings and also just pre-programmed with instructions. So in power play, the robots have a preloaded code, which they start with in their robot, and they can place it on any of the poles in the field. And they also have 5 other cones in a stack, which are on the side of the field, which they can also pick up one at a time off the stack and place on surrounding poles. So robots need to know where the cone stack is and how to navigate there. So on our robot, we have some dead wheels or other wheels on the robot that just get dragged around when we're driving. And they help us to locate exactly where we are on the field.
That's clever.
We're now in front of the cone stack and we're aligned. And we can pick up a cone and then take it off. We also have a distance sensor on the gripper, so we know when we have a cone in between the arms, so then we can close it and pull our slides back to put it back into the robot. And then in the place where the cone gets put, we have a color sensor, so we can detect, okay, if we picked up a cone, grabbed a cone, and we brought it back into the robot, and now this color sensor sees that there's not actually a cone in the robot, then we know something has gone wrong, and we don't want to break the robot if we've got a cone somewhere randomly. In autonomous, you also get points for reading an image of a sleeve that is placed on a cone in front of the robot. And depending on the image of the cone, the robot actually has to park in a different zone on the field. So we have to have a camera with that would take an image and then process that image to work out where we need to park. And then you get the points if you are in that zone at the end of autonomous.
Oh, wow.
After those, there's quite something. So after those 30 seconds of autonomous, there's another 2 minutes of where the robot is controlled by the drivers. So normally people will have 2 drivers, and they basically just hold like a normal Xbox controller or game controller that you would play video games with. And you take different inputs from the buttons of that to control the robot. So you use the joysticks. So we use the joysticks for driving in different directions. And we have a button that when you press it, it extends out the slides, the horizontal slides, until the distance there to see the cone. And then it'll grab and pull it back in. And that's what the one button does. And if you press another button, then the robot will lift up the slides to place the cone on a pole. And we also have another button, which if you press it, it'll use the camera to align the robot to a pole. And that's very useful because sometimes as the driver, it's really difficult to see when your robot is perfectly lined up with the pole, because otherwise you're not going to place the cone in the right place and you might miss, and then that's going to waste your time. So that's a very useful function that we've added.
Sure, it's so interesting. And we also, we were getting some live coverage while the competition was happening from Michelle that we did share on our socials. And I mean, I was watching it and it looks like so much fun. I mean, the intensity while you guys are competing must be crazy. And I just want to know, has the robot autonomously ever beaten you as a driver? Or
there
have been there have actually been quite a few times where the amount of points that we score on autonomous is actually more than what we score in driver mode. Just because the amount of points that you get for doing things in autonomous is a lot higher. So for placing one cone on a high pole, the one that's 85 centimeters high, you would get 5 points in driver mode. But in autonomous, you actually get 10 points for that cone.
Okay.
Our robot, we try and place as many cones as we can off the stack. So if we get all 6 cones, 5 cones off the stack and the 1 preloaded cone, and then park, we get 80 points in autonomous mode. And then in driver mode, if we have a really bad time and like I get stuck on a pole or something, or the robot just like I missed the pole with the cone, then sometimes I can score less than 80 points. And then the robot in autonomous mode, all the sets has beat me.
I love that. But then at the end of the day, that actually means that you guys won because you told the robot what to do, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Were there any, just like from that, were there any moments in the competition where, you know, like something like that happened where you completely didn't see it coming, or was there anything that stood out in the competition where you surprised yourself and it was cool to see?
Yeah, there were a few, but I think the most notable one was, I think it was in our last game where most of the time we were playing, most of our games, autonomous mode, it didn't quite work right. The robot didn't get to the exact position where it needs to be to pick up the codes. But on the last game, it actually managed to get to the right place and was busy putting codes on the pole. But then the robot on the other, our opponent, they were also putting codes on the pole, but they managed to get stuck on the pole and fall over. Our entire opponent's robot fell on its side and then knocked the pole. So then we actually ended up missing most of the codes, even though it was the one time where our robot managed to actually get lined up the stack. So it was funny to watch, but also a bit disappointing because it's like the one time it worked and it didn't actually score any points.
Well, actually, it wasn't the only time. In the first match, I remember watching their first match, and what Ethan was describing was when they were placing it on the high pole. Yeah. In their first match, they were putting on the medium pole, and they got all 5 cones plus their preload cone on in that first match.
Yeah,
they
that was
got match.
Yeah, I didn't get that. That was on a separate lane.
That was the first. Cool. And we were like, wow, that's amazing. But anyway, the next few days the team had a lot of technical issues, and it was very frustrating because the autonomous didn't work as well as it had been working before we left South Africa. So there were lots of frustration, but that goes with robotics. It kind of goes with the territory.
Yeah, and that builds experience, and you'll be allowed to come back better, bigger and better.
Yeah, cool. Still on FTC competition, Michelle, can you pretty much just take us through how you guys progressed through the competition?
Okay, so the teams progressed to higher level than the competition based on their ranking in matches. That's one aspect. But they also, so the ranking is based on their points in the matches, and there's tiebreakers and all of that sort of thing. But they also progressed in the competition based on winning judged awards. And for us, in our regional and the national competition, Texpand was ranked number 1 in the game, so that they performed the best in scoring points in their matches. And they won the top judged award, which is called the Inspire Award. And it's awarded to the team that does the best across all of the 6 judged awards. And the judge awards, so the competition is not just about the robot's performance and the game. The judge awards assess things like the team's innovation, how innovative were they in the features of their robot, how creative were they in problem solving and in engineering, and looking at how well they followed an engineering process, and incorporating elements like industrial design so that the robot doesn't just function well and perform well, but it also looks good. And if you look at our robots this year compared to previous years, the team was really proud of the way it looked, because it's a huge improvement on previous years. That was something that they had a goal to improve this year. And then they also get judged on how well they connect with professionals from the technology and robotics companies that are local in the local area, and things like how well they've motivated other kids in STEM skills, so passing on their skills to others. And then they also get rated or judged on things like developing a sustainable business plan and things like that.
Lovely.
Yeah, Ethan can maybe talk about from there on what happened when we made it to the World Championships. I don't know, you could maybe ask him a question about that in case
Okay. I wanted to ask something. Because you spoke about design and how you guys actually progressed from your first design to your second design. I just want to know, what changes did you guys do from your first robot to your second one in terms of design?
So we had 3 different design changes of our robot. The design change from our first robot to our second one was quite a big change. Our first design, it had the slide set that would extend out to collect the cone, and the same set of slides would also extend out behind the robot to put the cone up on the pole. So it had 2 slide systems, but the one was used to rotate the main slides between a vertical and horizontal orientation. So it was quite slow with placing cones, but it could reach out really far to collect the cones and also reach really far behind to place the cones. But we ended up moving on because it wasn't that fast at taking a cone and putting it on a pole, even though it could reach really far.
And then you could tell them about the botanist.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The botanist was kind of the previous design to our current one, and it's pretty similar. It's when we started experimenting with having a separate set of horizontal slides that goes out to pick up the cone, and then it comes back in and kind of flips the cone over, so it's now upside down. And then it has another set of slides extending vertically, placed on the pole, that picks that cone up and takes it all the way over and flips it onto the top of the cone. So it kind of does a full 360. The inspiration behind the botanist was that we were experimenting with different grippy designs so that the grippers would actually hold the cone. And what we found worked pretty well with some gardening gloves. So we put them onto our grippers. Clever.
And we had the fingers of the glove on and everything. So when it would grip the cone, the fingers wrap around the cone. It literally looked like someone's hands grabbing the cone.
Yeah, nice. I love it. So, we've spoken about design. So I want to get back to the competition in terms of how did you guys as Texpand perform?
So from the start of the season, we had our sights set on qualifying for World. Since the last 2 years, we had done really well and been the top team, but hadn't been able to progress because of COVID and all the flights and that being an issue. So we spent all our previous seasons watching games of the top teams and their showcases on YouTube and on Discord. And we really wanted to have the opportunity to go and see our hero teams in person and meet and learn from them. And that would just be an incredible opportunity. So because of the standard of the competition in the USA, it's so much higher than what is over here. Our first thought when we qualified was, we just don't want to look like we don't fit in there. We don't want to look like we just qualified and we're embarrassing ourselves by going. So we worked really hard on improving our robot, and so we could be on par with some of the teams there. And that's what we were aiming to do. So once we got to Worlds and after playing a few matches, we noticed we had a chance of getting a decent ranking there, and we were really surprised about that. And that was even though we had quite a few technical challenges at the competition. And in the end, we ended up ranking in the top half in our division as far as the robot game goes.
Oh, that's amazing. I've got goosebumps throughout everything that you were saying, because just the qualifying, and then that's incredible. Yeah. Congratulations, guys.
So when it came to the judged awards, because that was just the robot game and there's also the judged awards, we were sitting in the stands just hoping that we might win a 3rd place award for some of the lower down awards that aren't as prestigious, I guess. But when they had announced most of those, we thought there's no chance that we're going to get an award. So yeah, that's just how we went in there, thinking we only just made it through the robot game. And when they were started announcing the first place Think Award, they say like this riddle or whatever, so you can start picturing who the team is before they actually say the name of the team.
They say the judges, whenever they announce a first place, the judges announce they have written a little script describing what they thought about the team.
Yeah.
So Ethan was saying that when they started that, when they started talking about that, you could carry on.
So when they started talking about the first place team, they referred to things like the southern hemisphere. When they mentioned that, our ears pricked up, because most of the teams are from the USA and from Europe. So there aren't many teams from South America and Asia and Africa. So we were like, okay, that's quite interesting. And when they referred to placing cones in the nest, which is the cone transfer point in our robot, which is what we called it. Not many other teams called it the nest, especially not teams in the Southern Hemisphere. So after they said that, it was pretty clear that it was going to be us. And then eventually they mentioned our name, and we really couldn't believe that we ended up winning the first place Think Award, which is second place Judged Award. Wow. So it's only just below doing the best in all categories, which is really incredible. And it's an award many teams aspire to get, because you get it for having an exceptional engineering process and having a whole lot of creativity. And that's a huge part of what the competition is about.
Oh, that's amazing. And again, I just want to say congratulations, guys, because that is huge. And from all the hard work and the intentions that you set out, like, you deserve it. So clap, clap, clap. Well, congratulations, you guys. That's really, really cool. And you know how you touched on it with your skills, and like how that is actually, you know, one of the top placing awards that you could win. It really shows that, you know, with us supporting, it's like the future is bright, and by us supporting Texpand, like we're not only championing like cutting edge technology, but we're also actively investing in the future, you know, of our young generation, and you guys are going to be creating all of that future technology that is going to be blowing our minds. Where, I mean, within our industry at the moment, we've got stuff like AI, you know. So I'm excited. I'm just like, I trust I'm going to be fine with our future too. And so I really just wanted to lead then really into, you know, STEM skills development, and obviously we know that STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. But Michelle, why do you think that these STEM skills developments are so important in South Africa today? And I mean, we just hear that, and we have our South Africans on this platform, and we're winning, you know? So, I mean, that's in itself is important for we can do it too, and morale. But why do you think that STEM skill development is particularly important in South Africa today?
I think these are the skills required for the really high demand and high paid jobs for the near future. And we saw a publication actually from the World Economic Forum recently that listed the top 10 work relevant skills that will be needed in 2025. And many were directly STEM related in technology use or design and programming. But most of the other skills on the list were ones that STEM learning projects would build, like things like complex problem solving, analytical thinking, and creativity, ideation, and others. They are things that projects in the STEM space will produce better than, you know, many other areas of projects. So if we can develop these skills in our youngsters, then South Africa can step up to the plate for a meaningful place in the global economy. and participate in the cutting edge of business and technology, where the economic opportunities, I believe, are the largest going forward. And, because we've certainly seen that we're behind at the moment by participating in this global competition. There's a real need for us in South Africa to step up and move forward in the space.
That's amazing. I'm glad you actually brought that up, because if you guys are an example of that, you are actually embodying these skills, because that's what you guys are doing within the competition. And that's what I want to ask Matthew to find out from Matthew, that what are some of the specific skills that you have learned through Texpand?
So I've gained so much from Texpand and FTC. But I think one of the most valuable things I have obtained is probably the ability to be relatively confident with mechanics. So I know that if I was handed some gears, a motor, a battery, and some brackets, I could probably do something with them. And that, just adds a certain confidence to you. Another thing that I've probably gained is at the beginning of this season, everyone in our team was assigned a lead role almost. So Ethan was a driver and the lead mechanic. And so I was assigned the lead for strategy. And I've just noticed how throughout the season I've gained more and more confidence with dealing with people, doing calculations. I've progressively gotten better at communication and time management, and just all around I've improved.
Yeah. I've definitely seen, I've seen with Matthew, he's the youngest person in the team. He's only 13. And some of the kids in my other teams are up to 18 years old. And being lead of strategy, he's had to, when we are assigned an alliance partner, he's had to lead the conversation with the alliance partner team, who sometimes had team members of 18 years old. He's had to lead the conversation and try and persuade them where they've differed on strategy. He's had to persuade them. And I remember that in National, there was one particular team where the team members were quite fixed on their way of doing things. Do you remember that, Matt?
Yeah, the front team, and they did not want to do some stuff that we kind of needed them to do. Just want to be the most effective strategy. But after quite a few talks and some, we have, not completely moved to our way, but at least we found a middle ground.
And Matthew was quite key in that. He was a 13-year-old and negotiating with 17, 18-year-olds in that team, I think, which is amazing. He was
it is.
And with a lead role, being a new member in the team, and he really excelled at it. So it's amazing to see that development happening.
Now, I just wanted to find out from Matt, how has he applied some of these skills in other areas of his life?
So obviously for time management, that's a big thing, especially since I homeschool. So I'm managing a large portion of my work on my own. So I've definitely noticed that time management has come in and really, improved my life, because now I can get all the stuff I need to get done, as well as enjoy some other things. So that has really helped, and obviously will help into the future with applying for a job where you need to manage the time.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's literally, the whole philosophy of supporting youth from Spitfire's side is that by doing that, we can help, the youth become valuable contributors to their communities and beyond, and building a stronger and more dynamic society. And that's exactly it. The 13 versus an 18-year-old falls into the real world of a 21-year-old speaking to a leader at a company. And if you have the skills and you know that you're confident in that, you do have that ability to stand your ground and say, listen to me, I know what I'm talking about. Don't shut me down. Try what I'm doing. If it doesn't work, then by all means. But I've been given the space to know and be confident in my abilities, and that's why I'm going to stand my ground, and we'll probably end up being right some of the time. So that's very cool, Matt. I just wanted to open the floor as well to Ethan in terms of any specific STEM skills, that Texpand has opened you up to.
Yeah. This season, I had probably the biggest opportunity was actually how to teach people. So this season, I had an opportunity to run training sessions in mechanics and programming for other primary school kids. I really enjoyed the experience. Seeing the kids applying what I had just taught them was incredibly rewarding and made me feel like I would like to do this a lot more. So that was what we did for our outreach, where we went to this disadvantaged school who had some robotics teams, but they didn't really know what they were doing too much with programming or with mechanics, and we gave them quite a few workshops on how to do things. And in the first LEGO League, they actually they managed to get the design award and scored the third most points.
Wow.
From what we had taught them as a team and imparted to them over 3 weeks of coaching.
That's very cool. So Texpand really has impacted like your overall outlook on learning and education, not just within actual skills, but as a whole. On that, what advice would you offer to other students who are interested in pursuing STEM studies or careers?
I realized that from being in FTC and part of Texpand, I realized just how much of a deeper understanding you get by doing something practical rather than just learning about it and just learning the theory of something. So I know if you want to learn something, you mustn't wait for someone to teach you or to come and train you on it. You should rather set a goal for something and just work towards and find what you don't understand that's in the way of you achieving this goal and just picking that up by yourself.
I love that.
Yeah, also just kind of building on what Ethan said, you mustn't be afraid to experiment, because that's probably what's going to hold you back the most. Even if you fail, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, you can learn so much from that. So the FTC competition is really what gives us the opportunity, since the game is like our training ground, and what we set as a goal is what we would like our robot to be able to do. And when we start out the season, we do not know all that we need to achieve our goal. And this way, we had our robot and we've had a whole lot of sensors on it. And we had very little idea of how to program these sensors and what to do with these inputs. But we just added one at a time and used the resources, the online resources, to videos and articles written by other teams on how to use the different sensors. And we one by one learned how to implement and how to effectively use their inputs to control our robot as well as it has been controlled. So there's a lot of resources in the FTP community, but there's also for many other areas. The main one is probably programming, since that is a very good place to start with STEM skills, and it's probably the easiest to start with, since most code editors are free to install, and also there's just a multitude of resources online. People have they'll teach you how to maybe make a noughts and crosses game in Python or in some other programming language, and they'll teach you all that you need to know and guide you through the process on how to end up with a noughts and crosses game. And then once you've got that, you've actually coded something. Maybe you knew nothing about coding, but now you know how to do the basics of coding. And now you might have an idea of, okay, I know how to do this, but I want to be able to do this next. And you maybe don't know all that you need to finish that, but you know where to start because you've got some of those skills that you learned from the structured learning system of the video. So then from there, you can just look up things as you go to find out, okay, I've hit this issue, let me search how to solve this issue. And you can just build your knowledge as you work towards your goal of finishing your project.
And then you never know, you might end up competing at the Olympics of robotics.
100%. And I love what you said there because I can relate to what we do in digital marketing as well. Because we don't always know everything. So it's always a good thing to constantly seek that knowledge. If you have to do it, go online, go to YouTube, read up some blogs. That actually helps you to be able to solve whatever challenge that you're faced with on that particular day. So I really, really like that you guys also have that open mind to learn, or that growth mindset to continuously seek to become better.
Yeah,
So that's a really great attitude.
Oh, this is our youth that's coming through. Look at them go.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that. I love that so much. And so the last thing that I just wanted to find out from you guys is obviously we do know that Texpand is currently sponsored by Spitfire. However, from a broader view, what do you guys think? Why do you guys think that businesses should care about these STEM skills development in South Africa, particularly?
I think if there is growth in the economy overall and availability of skilled employees, then it will be good for all businesses, whether it's STEM-related businesses or other businesses, and because all the boats rise when the tide comes in, as they say. So it makes sense to contribute in ways that will enrich the whole society that the business operates in. And participating in the global competition like FTC has made us aware of how far behind we are from the rest of the world here in South Africa in terms of STEM skills. And it's also made us aware that the development of STEM skills, and particularly robotics, is number one, very expensive. And number two, it's difficult to access because there's not a lot of mentors and skilled professionals that are out there actually actively seeking students who they can teach. So I believe there's two ways that businesses can help. So first of all, if your business isn't directly in the tech industry, you can still help to develop STEM skills by sponsoring or funding the development of STEM skills, like Spitfire has done for us, making it possible for our team to experience the world-class robotics in the World Championship. We wouldn't have been able to go if it wasn't for that sponsorship. It was one of the things that kind of helped us reach that goal of going to the World Championship, was the funding. And another way is by partnering with a team like ours to fund and train new teams. It takes at least 5,000 Rand to fund a new first Lego League team. That's the competition below the FTC. But for an FTC team now, it probably takes 40,000 to fund a new first Tech Challenge team. So finding a way to fund the start of a new team is definitely a way that any business can get involved in. And then secondly, if your business is in the tech industry and you employ STEM professionals, specifically in programming or engineering or something like that, you can encourage and make time for your employees to inspire and mentor kids in some sort of project like the First Tech Challenge that we do. Most of the people who have these tech skills are actually employed in a business somewhere. They're not going to teach in schools because there's such huge demand for them in businesses. And so there aren't teachers at the schools who've got these kind of engineering and technology skills in South Africa. They're all employed somewhere. So if businesses make it a requirement for their STEM professionals to spend a certain amount of their time mentoring kids, that would make a huge difference, I think, in the accessibility of skills. Even Greg and I have, as mentors, volunteering. We put aside time that we could have spent working and earning money in our business. We've put it aside to enable these kids to learn and to grow and to have access to STEM skills. And I think it would make a huge difference if businesses actually required their STEM professionals to mentor teams like this.
Yeah, definitely. Coming together to fuel a bright future in this possibilities where we just helping young people be equipped with the skills that they need to succeed, like in an ever-evolving technological landscape that is always going to be ever-evolving. And I completely agree with you. I think it's so important. And I mean, just hearing your guys' experiences, and I mean, even the fact that Matt, you're like 13, that's crazy. I think it shows exactly that importance. And I mean, we're very proud of you guys, and we just really want to thank you so much for, you know, sharing your journey with us. And we're so excited to see you grow. And, you know, please check out Texpand if you want to get involved. We'll also have as many resources available. As Ethan says, tap into those resources, just do it, and where you go, you're going to grow. So thank you, Michelle, Ethan, and Matt, for sharing your knowledge and experience with us.
And thanks to Spitfire too for making part of our journey, specifically the trip to the World Championship, possible. And yeah, we hope that more businesses will follow in your footsteps and, you know, hop on the STEM and technology bandwagon and help South Africa move forward and step up a few levels. So thank you very much.
Oh, awesome. And to our listeners, if you just started your STEM journey, or if you are one of those businesses that want to get involved, we really hope this episode has inspired you to pursue that and make a difference in the world.
Cool. And one last other question just before we close off. Where can we find you on social media?
So you can find us on our main social media is on Instagram. Our name is team_Texpand. So you can send us the message, you can follow us there and send us the message to get in contact with us.
And we also have a website, which is www.texpand.org.za.
Yeah. And that has the links to our media and also just some information on the background of our team and
our team's journey.
Yeah.
And
different robots.
If you want to get involved in sponsorship. Also, they've got details of any outreach training programs that we're busy with at the moment. So lots of information there as well.
Cool. Thank you, guys. And to our listeners, if you haven't checked out the blog connected to this podcast, do check it out at spitfireinbound.com. And also would love you to like, follow, and subscribe to the podcast. And for you also to leave us a review. And remember to tag us always at Spitfire Inbound on social media. Drop us any thoughts about today's episode, what you guys think about our guests today, Michelle and Matthew and Ethan, on our social using the hashtag TakeFlight podcast, hashtag Texpand Robotics team. And from us, your hosts, we will see you in the next episode. And thank you again. See you soon.
Bye.